Welcome to the first of a series in WRITA's new podcast series on leadership, connecting the Trailhead conferences. So we're going to call this the Trailhead Waypoint series for podcasts. I'd like to welcome you to what will hopefully be a learning and insightful episode here and a series of episodes. But I want to welcome our first guest. This is Scott Conn. He's the CIO for Mesa, Arizona. Scott and I are social circles of overlap for quite a few years, but we finally got to get to know each other the last few years. So welcome, Scott. I'm so glad to have you here, and thank you for having me host this for Public Technology Institute.
Well, it's great to be here, Darryl. Loved the suggestion of doing the podcast in the first place. So appreciate the opportunity to share thoughts and have a conversation.
All right, great. So let's get into it. You know, the trailhead's such an interesting theme because I've seen leadership as kind of a journey, not a destination. And so I love the fact that that's what WRITA kind of took as their inaugural theme for this. So WRITA's a new organization. It's the Western Regional Innovation Technology Alliance, correct? All right.
That is correct.
It's so new that I'm trying to get it down. But I want to know what inspired you to be part of the founding team for WRITA. What did you see that needed to be filled out there in our community?
So I originally had started in the public sector in the state of California, where they have an organization called MESAC, stands for the Municipal Information Systems Association of California. It is a tremendous organization and really highly collaborative amongst cities and special districts throughout the state. And anytime you had a project come up, you could post a question that your peers in all the other cities, if they have done something similar, were very quick to answer and give you valuable information on do this, don't do that, look out for this is a good vendor, here's some things we did that were successful, etc. So it created an environment where you didn't have to reinvent the wheel every time you wanted to take on a new initiative. So when I got to Arizona, I discovered that they really didn't have anything like that here. So I went back to MESAC and I said, look, would you mind expanding and becoming a regional organization? And MESAC's board of directors decided, no, they kind of like just being California and focusing on the needs of California, and lots of great reasons on why they would do that. So it left us with, gee, we really would like to take advantage of collaboration. I guess we're going to have to do something on our own. So I went to the Arizona CIO organization, really great group, useful at the CIO level, but not below that. So we could talk with each other and pat each other on the back, tell ourselves how great we are. Okay, but when it came to help desk or engineering or GIS problems or project management, we really weren't getting into those conversations, and we needed our teams to be able to talk. So I pitched the idea of creating WRITA, Western Regional Innovation and Technology Alliance, for the state of Arizona, and let all of our teams collaborate at every level in the IT organizations. And that includes at state, county, city, and special districts. So we weren't just limiting it to cities. Unanimous agreement amongst all the Arizona CIOs, all the way up to the state CIO. And so we formed WRITA. And once we started collaborating amongst ourselves, all of a sudden we got a phone call from Aaron Bentley, who's the CIO of Salt Lake City. And he said, hey, I heard about this WRITA thing. Can we be a member? So we thought about it and we said, yeah, sure, why not? We can collaborate. You're close by, you have the same issues we do. And then we got a call from Provo. And then we got a call from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Las Cruces, New Mexico. And then we got a call from Clark County, Nevada. And then we got a call from Boise, Idaho, and so on and so forth. When it was all said and done, WRITA now consists of 7 Western states: Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. And any state, county, city, or special district in there, in those states can join us. Matter of fact, we don't We don't limit it to just those states. We have some folks in Colorado. We actually have some folks in California who have joined WRITA as well, all for the benefit of getting the collaboration and the sharing of ideas and information. And while we're still a startup right now, Darryl, we've got over 800 members in our database that can collaborate with one another, and it's growing exponentially every month. So this is going to be gigantic, and it's already paying dividends for those that are posting and asking questions and getting really good quality responses in return.
Yeah, it's amazing. The energy in your organization is really tangible. Like we were up at the conference last week, your inaugural conference up in Lake Tahoe, which was phenomenal. But you could really feel the desire for people to connect and to share and to grow. And so you've really got something going here. So kind of along those lines, though, right now, and this seems a little prescient with this question, but with all the other resource commitments and all the other things going on right now that IT organizations are facing, what's the value of investing in continuing education, professional growth for IT leaders in local government?
Oh, that's a very huge hot button for me. I have watched over the years, having come from the private sector and then into executive consulting and then finally into the public sector. So, I mean, Darryl, you might not know, this is my third career. Okay. Uh, and I'm loving it. What I find is people tend to get stagnant if they don't look for the next thing. And so I'm a big advocate for, okay, you've got your job, you've got your position, you just got a promotion, what's next? And I've seen too many people just kind of sit and rest on their laurels and not grow anymore, and they become less effective over time. And sometimes you have to show them that. So we are constantly pushing folks, even in their performance evaluation goals that we set up every year. We want them to go to conferences. We want them to go get a new certification. We want them to go get the extra degree or the extra education in areas that they want to be educated. Just because you're a software engineer and building code doesn't mean that's your only area of interest in the world of IT. It could be, I want to be a manager. So now let's go get you into soft skills, what I would call soft skills, management courses to teach you how to be an effective manager. At the very least, you're growing. And I will tell you, one of the best growth things that I ever did for myself was the Certified Government CIO program put on by PTI. I mean, between you, Darryl, and Dale Bowen and Dr. Alan Shark, what a joy. A year-long program of education in, at that point, it was 11 different areas. I think you might be at 12 now. I can't remember.
AI has been a bolt-on for that.
There you go. And just amazing things where you walk out of there going, gee, I didn't know that before. And it becomes useful information, and you're just a better manager, a better leader because of it. Okay, but things like that get you excited, fuels your passion. You've got to keep moving forward. Don't rest on the little straw chair over there in the corner. Get up, keep dancing, and keep going forward.
Yeah, I love it. I couldn't agree more. And especially with IT, I think a lot of people that get into government IT are very passionate about completing things. They're very passionate about learning the specifics, the technology, the task. But when they have to grow into managing people and managing larger objectives, it can be a tough one for a lot of people. It's just not a skill set that they were ever had the opportunity to develop. So speaking of which, I mean, you said this is your third career, which is amazing at 30 something. So I'd like to get more information about your path because I think it's such an interesting example of what's available to us. So can you tell me a little bit about what your investments were to get yourself ready for this and what opportunities you took advantage of to go from private sector to public sector to being the CIO of one of the largest cities in Arizona?
Well, I did start in the private sector, actually climbed the corporate ladder at AT&T. Started out in California, got promoted to 6 different times, wound up with an office at headquarters in New York City, and wound up doing AT&T's European market entry strategies for 3 years, doing technical transfer deals for Bell Labs and other large companies in Europe, which basically means as a young man, I got to go to Europe 2 weeks every month for 3 years and play and come back with multi-million-dollar strategic deals. It was a great time. Eventually left that for the world of small company turnarounds. Bought a company at Lake Tahoe, of all places, medical software company, merged it with 6 other firms, took it public, and said goodbye, retired. I was done. And that lasted all of 6 months. You can only ski so much, fish so much, hike so much, camp so much, and your brain starts to turn to mush. So I kept getting phone calls from ex-business associates saying, "Hey, come on out here and take a look at this problem. Help me fix this." So I would do that for a free flight and a free meal. And I wound up getting very fat and happy. But I finally decided I was saving these guys so much money, maybe I should start making this a business. And I started Savant Solutions and did that for 20 years as an overpriced executive consultant.
It's not overpriced if someone's willing to pay it.
Well, that's true too. And my clients were Cisco and Intel and Disney and Kraft Foods, and it was everything at the CIO, CFO, CEO level, and had a great run. And I wound up selling that company to a San Francisco firm, and for the second time said goodbye. I'm done, retired. That lasted all of 6 months again, and I got called by one of my clients, the city of Concord, California, and they said, "Hey, can you come out here and fix our network? There's nothing we can do with this. Nobody can figure this out." So I went out there, I fixed the network, and they wound up offering me a job, and that's how I started in the public sector. I wound up taking care of IT for the police department at the city of Concord. From there, became the CIO for the city of Modesto in the Central Valley, a beautiful place. And eventually wound up here in Mesa as the CIO, and I've been loving every minute of it.
Wow, I mean that's an adventure. I mean, I thought I had a checkered past, but man, you covered a lot of bases. And it's interesting because one of the threads that I picked up on your journey is the value of your networks. That hey, somebody called me, somebody asked, you're retired, somebody calls, says, "Hey, I'm phoning a friend." So now that you're in the public sector, and we're not known for this, but what do you think the value of having a peer network is, especially in public sector IT, for everybody that's listening out there?
Oh, it's absolutely invaluable. What I have found that my peers, my fellow CIOs and IT directors, not just within WRITA or California and MESAC, but around the country that I've met, we are all facing very similar problems and challenges and priorities. The city councils or the board of directors or your board of regents, whoever you report to, they all attend the same conferences, and they all see the same shiny new penny, and they all come back and go, "Hey, what are we doing with AI? Hey, what are we doing with moving telecom to the cloud? Hey, what are we doing with?" And so it tends to be on a very similar time frame and cycle for priorities in the public sector. And that can be good and bad. The good part is everybody else is going through it. So if you have a good peer network, you have a very large base from which to draw information and ask for assistance or guidance. And this is not just with peers, Darryl. This is also, you should be building those same relationships with your key vendors. Okay, I have great relationships with the vendors that perform and deliver. I can be known as somewhat of a hard backside to those that mess up, and I have to take to task or take out back of the woodshed and set them on the right path again. Okay, but those that deliver, I have a spectacular relationship with, and they are a great source of information and do this, don't do that. So you combine that with your peers, add to that your teams themselves, and ask them what they've learned from their peers in the different functions they perform. I mean, collaboration is just a tremendous source of knowledge and power and influence, and it all benefits your organization. You look great when the team delivers, and the team
Yeah.
delivers because they ask questions and they collaborate. So, if you haven't been tapping into this, it's something you got to jump on right away. You're really missing out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We both been around long enough that we remember when the IT boss was the smartest person in the room. And it wasn't about collaboration, it was about that person having to look like they had the answer to everything. And it's been such a productive shift to the CIO spurring other people's ideas and kind of getting them to come up with solutions and harnessing the energy of all the people that we work with and that we partner with. So you've kind of hit on this theme of collaboration and partnership, and I want to drill down a little bit, and I mean, especially in this latest episode of your career, this third act where you're now serving the public directly. How have your peer relationships affected your journey? Because going from the Bay Area to Central California to Arizona is a pretty wild journey for just about anybody. So I'm really curious how your peer relationships affected that journey.
Well, probably the best way to put it is now that I'm in Arizona, when we hit October, November, December, all of my peers from elsewhere in the country, they all want to come visit.
Not in
Imagine,
September, not in
imagine that.
August.
Yeah, yeah. July, August, September, the visitation goes way down, but that's where I'm going to visit them. Okay. Okay, but I have found that every location has its great things about it. You just got to find them and then latch onto them and then share them when people do come to visit. But I have not found that a location you go to limits your ability to interact with your peers that you had left elsewhere or that you had met, or that, I mean, you could meet at a conference that's in Washington, D.C. Or Minneapolis, and then you still have these lifelong resources and peers and friends that you could call regardless of where they are. And it's just like catching up with old friends. I mean, so I don't see location really limits your ability to keep adding peers, adding friends, adding acquaintances, even if you just see people in passing, or you went to somebody's breakout session, you heard them speak. I mean, even just giving them a word of encouragement, saying, "Wow, when you talked about this, that really touched me. That's something I'm going to try myself back where I come from." Don't let location limit you. I mean, just keep branching out. So I see it as a good thing.
Yeah, it's interesting as a first-time retiree, only on my second career. Um, we talk about data-driven decision making and kind of performance metrics. The most meaningful performance metric for a CIO for me is, do their old friends and peers still call them? Like, I call it quiet relevance. It's if you get a call saying, "Hey, buddy, I could really use your help," or "Hey, I could really just use your support." Sometimes it's just a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes it's just, "Hey, I'm going through this. What does this look like for you?" But I think it's just such a meaningful point you made about distance doesn't have to eliminate those relationships, doesn't have to diminish them. It's foster and keep, because they're all valuable. And just because you don't see the value of it in your face at that moment doesn't mean it's not going to be valuable down the road.
Mhm.
So I love that. So
Well,
going,
that is how the executive consulting piece of my career had started. It was people just calling,
yeah,
saying, "Hey, can you help me? Can you take a look at this?" So you're right. I mean, everything you just said, Darryl, right on the money, and it creates opportunities for you, which turned into in my case, a 20-year business.
Yeah, and the world gets pretty small when you get into this public sector IT leadership. Like you see a lot of the same people in very different circumstances, but it's also creating space for people to come together. And I think that's what I love about RITA is it's such an intentional act of saying, look, we're better together. We can learn from each other. Let's create spaces virtually and physically that we can get together and share our stories and encourage each other to succeed. I love that. And the fact that you're doing everything west of the Rockies, is just, it speaks to your ambition, Scott.
Oh,
Um,
not so much ambition on this one. It's you got to enjoy things that just make common sense. In today's world and political climate, sometimes common sense goes right out the window. But this is just one of those no-brainers.
yeah.
I mean, it is such a no-brainer, Darryl, that we're going to run a promotion for those that are sitting on the fence out there and not sure if they should become a member of the organization or not. I mean, we're literally going to open up the doors and do a try before you buy promotion here coming up in the next couple months and try and get even, all the small government agencies. Oh, I can't join. Mesa's so big and, Boise is so big. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can be a small agency of, 2 or 3 IT people and still at a very, very low price, join RITA and get all the benefits that all the big cities get. I mean,
Yeah,
so we're out to prove that to everybody, and we're going to walk the talk. It's like try it out. You're going to love it. You're going to see the benefits, and you'll be hooked.
I love that because there is so much value for leaders from smaller cities, smaller counties to spend time with people not only in their peer group, but within the more metropolitan areas and urban areas and larger counties. And it's funny because there's this weird perception of hierarchy in our industry where the larger cities, when you get up into the mega metropolises, Los Angeles, Phoenix, New York, that type of thing, there's still this intimidation. I can remember kind of getting intimidated meeting Ted Ross with City of Los Angeles, and I'm the CIO or the CTO for Riverside County, California. So we're not small beans, but there's always somebody out there that's doing something bigger, that's in charge of something more expansive. And I think having the inspiration of being near those people and kind of seeing that they deal with a lot of the same problems, they've developed different tool sets for dealing with them and learning from that and learning that that applies at a township of 5,000. What helps a city of 5 million helps a town of 5,000.
Exactly.
And
Exactly
learning
true.
together on that. So taking it back to our theme of trailhead. So hopefully a lot of our viewers and listeners right now are aspiring or new leaders. And I'd like to talk about kind of using that theme of what do they pack their backpacks with for this journey of leadership? What should they be investing in right now? If let's say you're a senior analyst or a system admin and you want to make the journey into leadership, what should they be throwing in the backpack right now?
That's a very complex question. Depends upon where you want to go on the trail. But, in the big, I mean, there are 2 types of things you want to be packing in your backpack. I mean, the first one is just your technical knowledge in an area of expertise that you are passionate about. And that could be not just your technical knowledge, but go out there and get the certifications. Have the piece of paper that proves to people you know what you're talking about. Believe it or not, that people do pay attention to those things, and they do matter, especially if you're trying to get in the door at a new organization. You want to be able to have those credentials that validate your learning, your education, your passion. That's one set of tools. The other set is if you're going to be a leader, a manager, a supervisor, a CIO, you got to work on your soft skills. Go learn how to present to people. Most folks are scared to death of public speaking.
Yeah.
Go take a public speaking course.
Yeah.
Go stand up in front of small groups and give speeches.
Toastmasters is still around. That's still a
Toastmasters.
thing.
Go to a Toastmasters meeting and people will help you. They will prop you up. They will give you great suggestions, but learn your soft skills. And it's not just speaking, it's, how do you create that perfect PowerPoint presentation? How do you stop reading all the bullet points on the slide? Because anybody in the audience can do that. That's not how you do a PowerPoint. Go do it correctly, but learn the tips and the tricks. It's not that hard, and it will benefit you, not just in your work and your career life, okay, but even your personal life. Or let's say you're into religion. It will help you at church. You're into social groups and volunteering in charities. It will help you with those organizations. It will help you in your interpersonal relationships, just knowing how to present yourself, when to say something, when not to say something. Okay.
When to stop it, yes.
Something it took me a long time to get that one down, but thankfully, I think I'm there. But put those things in your pack as you go down the path, and pull out that tool every time you need it. Okay, every day, oh, gee, I need to give a speech to the executive team about this new initiative we're going to kick off. Okay, let's do it smart. Let's do it well. It carries its weight, and sometimes the manner in which you present things and the confidence with which you present things means a lot more than the actual content that you might be speaking.
No, it's true. The ability to tell a coherent story that's compelling and convinces people to join you is probably the single most valuable attribute for a CIO. I've seen that and I've lived it.
And I'm going to tell you, Darryl, that is what we're trying to do with WRITA. We have the annual spring conference is coming up at the end of April, and we're going to have it right here in Mesa.
Right.
Well, I'm invoking executive leadership. I mean, since myself and Paul Paledna, my assistant CIO here at Mesa, kind of started this thing. We're going to have the first one in Mesa. That's very selfish, I know, but this way we can add some extra stuff and extra influence that I know our city manager and our mayor would be very happy to do to make it a special event. Okay, but come here and we'll have different tracks. I mean, there will be things on AI, there will be things on process improvement, but there will also be soft skills. Okay, so we will have pieces of the conference where you can learn the second half of that tool set to put in your bag.
So the next conference is going to be kind of like the REI for packing that backpack, all the supplies you need to pack the journey. No, I love it. And I really do. I love this idea that it's getting people the tools they need to succeed, whether they get them from each other, whether they're getting from learning there, having experts there. I look forward to attending. I had such a great time at your last conference. Like I say, the energy was just incredible. And it's all about the energy at these conferences, and the enthusiasm, everybody's desire to kind of connect and learn. It was just really, really something. So you've started something special, Scott. So you and the team, the board that founded that, I can really see where this is going to go places.
Well, as they say, it takes a community, right? So we're putting the right community together, and we're having fun doing it. I mean, come be a part of it.
All right. Well, with that, thank you again for inviting me and inviting Public Technology to join you on this podcast journey. We'll have 5 more episodes that'll kind of act as these breadcrumbs, these waypoints between the conferences. So I look forward to interviewing your peers in leadership at WRITA, and I look forward to continuing our journey. So it's so great to get to know you, Scott. Thank you again. Thanks for taking the time this morning, and I will catch you in April.
Darryl, really appreciate the opportunity. And on behalf of WRITA, thanks to PTI for actually being a Platinum Strategic Partner. Your support is invaluable to us. So thank you.
All right. Take care.